Renee asks, should all the locations be listed in the sidebar all the time? Should the list of locations depend on the user input? Or should my model have my locations and that is that?
Oh, okay, good question. So the list view should have all the locations when nothing's been searched for yet. When you begin searching for something, that's when the list view begins filtering. Yeah, so the list of locations will depend on what the user's searching for. So like in my example, when I searched for sushi, it filtered out all the restaurants that didn't have sushi either in the name, or you can also maybe get creative and add like categories for all your places, and you can filter through the categories as well. But yeah, whatever you're searching for, that's the only thing that should show up in the list view. So your list view, right, is getting information from your model. Your search is basically looking through your model to figure out what to turn on and off, and your map is looking at your model to decide where to put markers. So the model is kind of well, I shouldn't say controlling. The model is kind of what's deciding what gets populated into everything and what everything's sort of filtering through.
It's more like, oh, what are the data that is required for my application? So the model decides your content of the application. So list is a chosen subset of model, and markers are a matching subset of model.
The list and the markers should be the same subset of the model. So when I search for something, my markers are reflecting that search as well as my list view. So anything that disappears in my list view is also disappearing on my markers. Kind of think of it like if you had a Google map and it had markers, you searched for restaurant and it gave you all the markers of all the restaurants, right? And then you searched for burger restaurant, and then like half of those markers would go away, and there would just be the burger restaurants left. And then, right, on your list view, you would have a big list of restaurants, and then when you made your filter a little bit stronger and put it in like burger restaurants, that would filter down as well.
Yeah, so to follow her question, so she asks, and both are set by the search. Yes, actually your list and your markers are set by your search function. Whatever you search has to show up on your list, has to reflect on your markers as well, the result of your search function. And sometimes the list might have 1 or 2 things listed, and other times 10 or 15 depending on the search. Exactly, that's right. When you're not searching for anything, you can show all the places that have, that you have actually displayed in your map. When you're searching for something, you might filter that list into a subset of, whatever the keyword or the character that you're entering. And this should reflect in your markers as well. In addition to Knockout, can we use jQuery UI widgets, such as the autocomplete widget?
Yeah, you can feel free to use the jQuery UI widgets. Just make sure that you kind of understand what's going on with what the autocomplete widget is actually doing, because it can get a little tricky when there's some functionality built into it that you don't really know about. But I don't see any problem with using those along with Knockout. But we do require that you use Knockout, so try not to rely too much on sort of pre-built widgets and things like that.
Yeah, you can actually, and it's actually really, really simple. Fortunately, Chrome makes debugging and testing all aspects of your site really easily. If you actually go into your developer tools, there's a little emulator icon, and in here you can emulate like a bunch of different devices. So this is a great place to test things like responsiveness and making sure it displays well on different devices. And Chrome's usually pretty good about making sure these devices are up to date. But next to this sort of device tab is also a network tab. And in here there's all sorts of options. So I can sort of test how my website is going to load on tons of different sort of connection speeds, and one of them happens to be offline. So if I wanted to test, what happens if my website is trying to be accessed offline, well, I can refresh and see like, oh God, nothing loads because I'm offline and I'm trying to reach Google Maps. Or I can test it on Wi-Fi and see everything loads really quickly. You can also do other kinds of throttling, like just testing it on your local connection, good, regular, dial-up, whatever. So this is a really cool suite of tools that Chrome has developed for us.